Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dear Excellency, distinguished guests, and all participants, we arrive at the main event, that is the second plenary sessions with our invited speaker of day 2, Professor Cyril from University College Stockholm, with Dr. Wahidah Zein Siregar, MA, Ph.D. from UIN Sunan Ampel Surabaya.
And in this plenary session, we will be moderated by Sanya Pestari Dewi, MA. To Miss Sanya, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the MC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second day of Fourth Sunan Ampel International Conference on Political and Social Science, or we call it SAICoPSS 2024. My name is Anya, and today I have the pleasure of being your moderator for this season. It's great to see an engaged and diverse group here today. And we have an excited lineup speaker who will be sharing their insight on social, political, and religion dimension of human security. On this plenary session, we have two speakers. They are first, Prof. Cyril Hovorun. He is a professor in ecclesiology, international relations, and ecumenism from University College Stockholm. And the second one, Ibu Wahidah Zein Siregar, MA Ph.D. She is an expertise of gender and senior lecturer in international relations program from Universitas Islam Negeri Sunan Ampel. And each speaker will be given around 45 minutes to deliver their presentation. And for this session, because Pak Cyril have a rush, so we will directly to move to question and answer after Prof. Cyril give a presentation. Okay, please join us on question and answer feature if you want to ask the question after Prof. Cyril give a presentation. And then for the after participant, please give a raise hand, and our team will give your microphone to ask about your question. And let us know to which speaker are you asking the question, to Prof. Cyril or Miss Wahidah. Okay, for further ado, let us start this plenary session by welcoming our first speaker, Prof. Cyril Hovorun from University College Stockholm. He will be presenting about political religion. To Prof. Cyril Hovorun, the time and screen is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be again at your university, even though it is a virtual presence. I had a privilege to be with you approximately 2 weeks ago in Surabaya. Now I am back in Europe. I am currently in Barcelona, in Spain, waiting for my flight to Germany, where we will have tomorrow another conference on a relevant topic. It's organized by the University of Göttingen in Germany, and co-organized by my institute, which I lead in Los Angeles. It's the Huffington Ecumenical Institute. And our conference will be actually on the sacralization of the war. Can the wars be sacred? So we will try to answer that question. And today I'll be speaking about a particular instance of the war which has become sacralized, the war in Ukraine. Ukraine is my own country. I'm Ukrainian. I'm from Ukraine originally. And what I'm going to speak about is how the war in Ukraine is explained by propaganda, how the war is framed politically and religiously in Russia, and I hope you will find something interesting in my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Let me start my presentation with you, and I hope you can see my screen. Can you? Is it all right? You can see my screen? Good, thank you. So let me begin with the fiasco of the communist ideology in the Soviet Union. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, communism became a bankrupted ideology, a set of ideas. This bankruptcy of the communist ideology created a void, which many institutions in Russia tried to fill up. One of those institutions was the Russian Orthodox Church, which reemerged from the margins of the post-Soviet public square with the aspiration to occupy its center. Its ambition was to give a homo post-Sovieticus, as it were, because the Soviets, they tried to create a Soviet man, a different kind of type of man, homo Sovieticus. And then after that, the homo post-Sovieticus emerged, and the Russian church tried to give this post-Sovieticus homo person a new raison d'etre, the reason to exist. This ambition ended up in providing a new raison de mourir, the reason to die in the war. During the post-Soviet transition, what promised to be a theology of life turned to the theology of death. Such an ideology was intended for mass consumption by ordinary people. However, even its creators seem to have a desperate need to consume what they produce. They intended to gaslight masses but eventually became victims of their own manipulations. In result, even the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, does not seem to be able to explain this war to himself without the narratives produced by his counterparts in the religious groups in the church. The church wanted to be just useful to his regime by offering theologized ideologies or ideologized theologies. Instead, it became indispensable in selling the war to both the Russian people and elites. So essentially, Putin needs to sell the war to convince both masses, Russian masses, and his elites why they should support the war, and the church helps him in doing so. In February 2022, just before the big war, Putin preached on the Russian TV, and he tried to explain this war to the Russian masses. However, since then, his explanations of the war have changed radically. The more Putin tries to explain the war publicly, the less convincing he sounds. One has an impression that he really struggles to explain the war to himself. The more he struggles, the more metaphysical or quasi-theological his arguments turn. So he started explaining this war by purely political or historical reasons, and now he uses a religious rhetoric to explain this war. These arguments that he produces are like Ovid's Metamorphoses, this Latin poet Ovid, who had written in ancient Rome the book Metamorphoses. And they change, the explanations that Putin provides to this war change as the characters in Ovid's book Metamorphoses. In Ovid, in Metamorphoses, things change, beings change, but there is always like something divine behind these changes. So it's with the war in Ukraine, there is something metaphysical behind this war. Even before he waged his war against Ukraine in 2014, because the war started in 2014, Putin had adopted quite a few words phrases, explanations of this war coined by the church. They originated from the limbo, which is between the sacred and profane narratives. One of them is the idea of traditional values. This idea is an elaboration on the concept of values, which was designed in the 1970s as a vehicle to smuggle some religious ideas through the well-guarded walls of secularism. So the idea of traditional values come from the secular kind of secular ideology that dominated the West. And in order to preserve something religious in this secular setting, some Western sociologists and intellectuals came up with this idea of values. As it's like a secular extract from religion. In the 2000s, which some, such as the famous German philosopher Jürgen Habermas, perceive as an era when post-secularity replaced secularism, the concept of traditional values effectively became an alternative to liberal democracy. With this new rationale, it was appropriated by the emerging autocracies in China, Russia, Hungary, and elsewhere across the globe. In 2022, Putin made traditional values a law in Russia. The law is called on the approval of the fundamentals of state policy regarding the preservation and strengthening of traditional Russian spiritual and moral values. So this is the title of the law. And it was signed by the Russian president on November 9, 2022. Putin did not stop at half measures in exploiting theological languages. He advanced to a fully fledged biblical and theological hermeneutics. In his spirit, while addressing a crowd at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow in February 2023, he drew a parallel between the Russian word "отечество," which is best rendered as like the fatherland, and the prayer provided by Jesus in the New Testament, Our Father, the so-called Lord's Prayer. And Putin said, in particular, in this phrase, he, meaning Jesus, stated, there is something powerful, huge. I would even say, I quote Putin, mystical and holy. No wonder, therefore, that one of the most famous prayers begin with the words, Our Father. So Putin makes reference to the Bible, to the scripture, in order to draw a parallel between the Heavenly Father and the fatherland. So he essentially sacralizes fatherland. He makes fatherland a sacred institution. I'll show you this this piece of Putin's speech in Moscow. That's why when he's referring to the scriptures, and his presentation was followed by this singer, Russian singer. His name is Shaman. You see a lot of religious symbols around, and this is a meeting to support the war. This is the same singer. It's a propagandist video to support the war. You can read the subtitles of this song.
Sorry, Pak Cyril, we cannot hear the voice of the video.
Sorry? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Because I can hear you. Can you hear the presentation? Now you are muted. I think you are muted. I cannot hear you. Okay. No, you are muted, so I cannot hear you.
Can you please try again? Okay. What about now? I can hear your voice, but we cannot
Yeah, now.
hear your video voice.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So what I wanted to show you is a piece of the propaganda for the war, and this is you heard Putin speaking, addressing the crowds in Moscow, explaining the war by referring, to the Father, Heavenly Father, to the Almighty God. And what follows is this Russian singer. His name is Shaman. Well, paradoxically so, he is like, what is shaman? It's like a religious pagan priest. And shaman speaks about, he sings about Russia and also makes a lot of reference to one God. And he believes that God is with the Russians. So it's a piece of propaganda that demonstrates how this war is supported by references to God, to religion. And this is like almost like a hysteria, propagandist hysteria, which inspires Russian people to support this war. And what is next, I want to show you a video that I made myself when visiting the front line in Ukraine, the result of this propaganda, the result of this war in Ukraine. This video footage is made by myself.
Ya, kalau pokoknya kalau
Well, this is the result of the propaganda that we can see on the Russian TV, in the Russian media. Well, in addition to Putin, probably you know there is another important figure in the Russian political system. It's Dmitry Medvedev. He used to be the president of Russia from 2008 through 2012, and in this war, he also plays a key role trying to explain the war in religious terms, just like Putin does. But Medvedev does it even more. And he likes to refer to demonology in explaining the war. Let me quote one of his postings on the social media when he tries to explain this war in religious terms. I quote him: "We have the ability to send all enemies to the fiery Gehenna." He apparently implies using nuclear weapons by saying this. "But this is not our task. We listen to the words of the Creator in our hearts and we obey them. These words give us a sacred purpose." Well, sacred, that's important to stress that Medvedev uses the word sacred in explaining the war. The goal is to stop the supreme lord of the hell, whatever name he uses, Satan, Lucifer, or Iblis. Well, in Muslim demonology, as we all know, Iblis is the chief of demons. In Medvedev's imagination, he's also the chief of the Western powers. Speaking of which, in another post on his Telegram channel, Medvedev refers to his former European colleagues in the positions of political leadership as entirely, I quote him, entirely miserable amateurs, very Russophobes, and intellectual pygmies. Well, he apparently mentions pygmies from Timor, and he compares the European leaders with pygmies from Timor. Russophobia is a key word word here and in many other messages emitted by the Russian propaganda. The real driving force of Russophobia for many Russians is hatred to Orthodox Christianity. Their logic is the following. Orthodoxy is the only true religion, they believe. Satan, who lurks in all Western political institutions and churches, hates truth and therefore orthodoxy. He moves the West to attack Russia, but his ultimate goal is to destroy orthodoxy. Most Western politicians, therefore, without necessarily realizing this, serve the Iblis. Either consciously or unconsciously, they execute his will. Russophobia, therefore, is something like a Western original sin. In the words of an Orthodox lay activist of some fame, Kirill Frolov, pacifism and Russophobia are sins against the Orthodox teaching. So he believes that both pacifism and Russophobia are very grave sins. This figure, Frolov, a professor of the Moscow Theological Academy, Archpriest Vladislav Tsipin, in his article, The Special Military Operation in the Light of the Christian Teaching on the War and Peace, mentions the saying attributed to the former United States National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski. And I quote Tsipin, after the defeat of the USSR in the Cold War, the main enemy of the free world became the Orthodox Church, together with other traditional religions that have not embarked on the path of modernist liberalization and all the adherents of traditional moral values, end of quote. It has been proven that this statement by Brzezinski is a fake, but this does not matter to the Russian propagandists who keep quoting him. As for the real statements by American politicians regarding Russia, I cannot resist referring to the debates between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney during the presidential campaign in 2012. Then they famously diverged on how to assess Putin's Russia. For Romney, Putin's regime was as early as in 2012 America's #1 geopolitical foe. For Obama, in contrast, Russia was a mere regional power, which was better to ignore. The latter assessment proved to be wrong in many senses, including how the Russians themselves perceive their antagonism with the West. This antagonism in their imagination has the scale of a cosmic battle. Patriarch Kirill of Moscow is particularly eloquent in painting such a picture with thick brush strokes. According to him, God himself endorsed Russia with a special mission to save the world from itself. And I quote Kirill, the Lord has chosen our country and our church, not because of our personal holiness or our good deeds, which we do not have, but because of the prayers of our saints, martyrs, and confessors, because of the great civilizational work that Russia has done by establishing orthodoxy across the spaces of the Eurasian continent. So we must firmly follow what the Lord intends us to do by holding our country, our people, and through this perhaps the entire world from the dominating of the evil, from decay and destruction. In this passage, the Patriarch refers to the concept of katechon. Katechon is a concept that goes back to the Bible, to the New Testament. It is mentioned by Paul, Apostle Paul, and it was later on used in the Byzantine political theology as an idea of someone who holds the world from decay, from corruption. And the Russian propaganda presents Putin as a sort of a new katechon, a new preserver, a new holder of the universe, essentially, from corruption and destruction. That is, they believe, that is their mission. So their mission is to save the world from the global evil, and the only strength to save the world is through the political regime of Putin and the Russian Orthodox Church. So for them, Islam is also a sort of this destabilizing factor in the world that contributes to, to the decay, to the destruction of the world. And only the Russian Orthodox Church is able to save the world from all those, evil forces, according to the Russian propaganda. Also, well, this concept of katechon is used not just by the theologians, but also by the politicians in Russia. For them, katechon is still is both a person and an institution. Putin himself is a person, the katechon, the one who holds. However, the institution as such, the presidential institution, is not a katechon for them. It is Russia, which is the katechon. I mean, the entity, the entire nation is the katechon. Putin and Russia are two holders of truth, two holders of the world, from preservers of the world from corruption and destruction, according to this propaganda. One of the faithful Putin's assistants, Vyacheslav Volodin, who is also the Speaker of the Russian Parliament, Duma, famously stated in 2014, if there is Putin, there is Russia. If there is no Putin, there is no Russia. So we see how two concepts, nation, the personhood of the president, are mixed up, and they are connected through this religious concept of katechon. No wonder, therefore, that any critique of Putin is interpreted by his adherents as symptoms of Russophobia. The Russian propagandists also compare Russophobia with Byzantinophobia. So there is not just Islamophobia, which is spread across the world, but the Russians believe that there is also Byzantinophobia, and they believe that the West intrinsically hates the East. It hated Byzantium as it now hates Russia. What is Byzantium is, it was the Eastern Roman Empire that existed from the 4th through the 15th century until it was conquered by the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman sultans, particularly Mehmed Fatih, after he conquered Constantinople, he established a new empire and a new capital in what used to be Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul. And Byzantium does not exist anymore, but it still exists in the political concepts of various dictatorships that existed, that took place in Europe during the 20th century. In the 20th century in Europe, in most Orthodox countries, there were dictatorships, and those dictatorships, they made references to Byzantium. They essentially claim that we continue Byzantium. We continue the mission of Byzantium in our days. I call this Byzantinism, and Byzantinism was very much intrinsic into all Orthodox Christian dictatorships in Europe in the 20th century, and Russia is not an exception from that. And if we take the rhetoric of Putin, rhetoric of Medvedev, of other ideologists of this war, we can see that the idea of Byzantium is very important for them, and they believe that they continue Byzantium. One of such ideologists of Putin's regime is Alexander Dugin. Probably you've heard this name. He's a philosopher, quite an inconsistent one, and he tries to explain this war and Putin's regime also by references to Byzantium. According to Dugin, Russia embodies Byzantium's religious, soteriological, and eschatological mission. At the center of this mission, Dugin believes, there is the supreme ruler as a paternal, almost mystical figure. Dugin argues that with the advent of Putin and by virtue of his truly decisive patriotic reforms, the autocratic principle unfolded in full force. The Russian people want only Putin and no one else, and for this, they are ready to change the constitution and everything else. Putin is the supreme ruler, the savior of Russia. That is the end of quote from Dugin. One of the most important references to Byzantium that implied Putin's role as a new Basileus, a new king of Byzantium, was his visit to Mount Athos in Greece in 2016. Mount Athos is a monastic republic, as it were, in northern Greece. Only monks live there. And it was very closely connected with Byzantine Empire because Byzantine emperors endorsed those monasteries. They established those monasteries, then they provided those monasteries with funds and built magnificent buildings there. So when Putin came to Mount Athos in 2016, they received him as a sort of emperor, a new Byzantine emperor. I'll show you a video about this. Just 1 second, where it is, about his visit. Just give me a second. Sorry. Yes. Just 1 second. Yeah, here it is. I hope you can see the video. So this video is from Putin's visit to Mount Athos, and you can see how he's treated there. Well, that's a footage from the Russian TV, central channel of the Russian TV, that showed Putin as a sort of religious leader in the capacity of a successor of the Byzantine emperors. This video demonstrates how the Russian propaganda that supports the war uses religious symbols, uses references to the past, to the models of relation between the church and the state, religion and politics that exist in the past, in order to justify, to explain the policies of the current Russian state, including the war. So the war, on the one hand, you saw the results, the results of the war: destruction, destroyed buildings, many killed people, including children. And this war is explained, is justified, or they try to justify this war by references to various religious symbols. In my presentation, I showed some examples of such references, like to the concept of katechon, which is both political and religious, to the concepts of satanic powers, with references not just to the Christian demonology, but also to the Muslim demonology, which is very interesting because this propaganda tries to reach out also to the Muslim population in Russia. As you know, around 20% of the Russian population are Muslims, and Russian propaganda tries to use also concepts from Islamic demonology, from Islamic theology, to convince now Muslims to support this war against Ukraine. We see how the instrumentalization of religion is happening, and as a result of this instrumentalization, religion is distorted. Religion is misrepresented itself. Religion becomes an instrument, a weapon in the hands of Russia. And well, it's not a new phenomenon. It happened in the past. It still happens in our time, when Islam gets instrumentalized, weaponized, when other forms of Christianity become instrumentalized and weaponized. It happened in the past, and unfortunately it happens now in Russia. That's what I wanted to kind of demonstrate to you today, to present to you today, how a sort of political theology, a sort of religious rhetoric is used to support the war, and how this rhetoric harms religion as such. So that will be my my message, my presentation to you, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Again, unfortunately, I cannot hear you. You are muted.
Okay, thank you, Cyril, for your great presentation, and it's so fresh and innovative ideas about the war. We can learn that the war between Russia and Ukraine use political religion as Putin propaganda to convince about to justify the war. Okay, now we open the floor for the question and answer session. Please use future question and answer, like raise hand in the Zoom meetings, or we can give you your mic, our mic in this offline session. If there is a question, we can start now. Okay, thank you. There is two, and then any others? Three, and then is it okay for three questions?
Very well. Very well, absolutely.
Okay, you can come here for the question. Please please say your name and state the brief about your patient.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. So, my name is Novera Lutfiani. I'm from International Relations student, and I just read about the news. The news is talk about the Russian Orthodox Church has approved a statement describing Russia's special military operation as holy war. So, sir, if the religion is considered as one of the factors that can be used to justify or trigger the war, so if the war is result in civilian casualties, I think it's also violates the human rights. So my question is, who is and or what is the responsibility of the religious leaders? Is the state at fault or are the religious leaders responsible for justifying the war? That's all my thank you. That's all my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this question. Indeed, it's a
Thank
great
you,
question.
Novera. And for the second participant, okay.
Shall I answer now this question, or you will ask another one? Or you will ask another one? Okay.
My name is Davina Aisha Asmara. I'm an international relations student too. My question is, in what ways has the Russian Orthodox Church benefited from its close association with Putin, and how does this affect its independence and credibility as religious institution? And also, how have the religious minorities or secular groups in Russia responded to the increasing entanglement of religion and politics in the context of war? That's all my question. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Davira. And the last one. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Cyril. I'm Hestia Kadinata from IF student. So my question is, are there any efforts by religious leaders in both countries to resolve this war, such as through interfaith dialogue? That's all my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'll try to answer.
Okay. I think we have another question from the
Yeah,
Zoom
online.
participant. Please, Pak Rizky Bangun, you can open your mic and state your question directly.
Yeah, thank you so much. Is it my possibility? Yeah. Thank you, Cyril, for your presentation about the Russian propaganda about the wars and how they justified the war with religious rhetorics. My basic question is, how do you think it's affected the Muslim community to see Russia now? Because I think how the Russian showing themselves to the Muslim community is like it's getting positive impact for them. Like I don't know, but I think as part of my study, because I'm here in University of Glasgow, studying human rights and international politics, and we about to see that the Muslim community looking really positive to Russia and like doesn't really care about what happened in Ukraine. And what do you think about that? Is it part of the effect of the Russian propaganda because they try to positioning themselves as a partner or friend of Muslim? Because like in some of Muslim literature they say that in the end of the time or in the end of everything, Muslim will have a partner from the west side of the country. So is it Russian or no? I don't know, but I think some of Muslim countries and specifically Muslim communities see Russian as a partner to yeah to
Yeah.
to
Yeah, good.
defeat the West. I don't know, but what do you think about that? Thank you. Cyril.
Thank you so much. Also a great question. Thank you. So I may answer now all these questions, right? Very good. I'll start with the first question and then go step by step. Indeed, what we are dealing with is an abuse of religion by politics, and this abuse is consensual. It means that religion is not just a passive participant in the propaganda. It's an active contributor to the propaganda and to the war. And of course, it creates a momentum of excitement in Russia. People who yield to the propaganda, who accept propaganda, they also begin supporting religion that supports the war. However, eventually there will be a very profound frustration with both propaganda, with the war, and with religion. So the danger of such a support of the war, but by religion, is that religion will become distrusted eventually. This will lead further to secularization of the Russian society. This is the paradox of this war. Putin and Patriarch Kirill and other figures around them, they say that they fight this war in order to rebuke, in order to fight against the Western secularism. But the result of this war is the risk of a further secularization of the Russian society, because people will become disappointed about religion, will be frustrated about religion. I'm now in Spain. In Spain, as you know, the Catholic Church supported wholeheartedly the Franco regime. The regime of General Franco, which lasted until relatively recently, and the church endorsed this regime completely. And the hope of the church was that by endorsing Franco's regime, it will help the church, religion, to thrive, to flourish, to be accepted by people. But the result of this is a very profound secularization of Spain. Spain is one of secularized countries in Europe because of this frustration with religion that had supported Franco's regime. And I envisage a similar frustration in Russia about religion among the people after Putin, after the war. Putin will lose their excitement about religion. They will embrace secularism more than they do now. So that is one of the dangers, of the risks of religion supporting the war. And then regarding Islam and Muslims in Russia, I'm afraid. As I mentioned, Russia has approximately 20% of Muslim population. And in Russia, I'm afraid the leaders of the Muslim Ummah, they have supported Putin. And this was not coincidental because as long as I know, Putin's regime tried to cultivate Muslim leadership loyal to the Kremlin. So they, expelled all the leaders which they believed they were disloyal, potentially to the Kremlin, and they instilled instead those leaders who are loyal to the Kremlin. So the Russians the Kremlin actually cultivated loyalty among the leadership of the Muslim communities. And as a result of this, the leaders do support Muslim leaders in Russia do support Putin and the war at the expense of the ordinary Muslims. The policy of Russia, whom to recruit to war, is that they recruit people from the most vulnerable regions, from the poorest regions, and from the Muslim regions. If you take statistics, who have been killed in this war, Russians who have been killed in the war, most and compare the numbers of those who were killed with the numbers of the population in that region from those from where those people came, you see that the largest proportion of those who were killed against those who live in this region are Muslims, like Dagestan, for example, or Ingushetia, or Chechnya. So that is another paradox of Russia. Putin says, I support Islam, I support Muslims, and he kills Muslims more than anyone else. He sends Muslims to be killed more than anyone else. In addition to that, in Ukraine, those who suffer from the war are primarily Muslims as well. The first victims of the war were the Muslim Crimean Tatars, Kremli. Crimea was occupied in 2014. And then, the most vulnerable population in Crimea that suffered most from the occupation are the Crimean Tatars. Many of them have left Crimea, and I know many of them who have left. They are very good friends, and they are, very good people, and they had to leave. Many disappeared, many were killed, and those who did not leave Crimea or were not killed or were not imprisoned had to comply. So Russia did the same with the Muslim community in Crimea, what they did with the Muslim community in Russia. They instilled controlled, loyal leaders to the Muslim groups in Crimea. Essentially, they established also parallel structures, Muslim structures. There are more pro-Ukrainian Muslim structures. They were expelled from Crimea, and in parallel to them, the Russians established pro-Russian Muslim administrative structures and religious groups. So Russia tries to control Islam, in other words. It tries to control Islam within Russia through the leaders, and it tries to control Islam also on the occupied areas. When it cannot control Islam, it just kills Islam, it tries to get rid of this Islam. So the only Islam Russia supports is a state-controlled Islam. That would be my answer to this question.
It's all for all questions, Pak Cyril. Okay, Pak Cyril, it's for all questions. It's the answer for all questions. Okay. Okay, thank you for the insightful discussion, Pak Cyril. And now, because you are in a rush, we move to handover certificate. We will give you a certificate.
Thank you.
Recognize and celebrate this discussion, and we will now give your handover certificate. Please give the call, John.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your invitation, and it was a great privilege to be with you today.
Okay. Okay, now we will move to the photo session. Before you leave this Zoom meeting, Pak Cyril, I would like to all participants in online to open the videos of the Zoom, and we will take the picture of this session.
Very good.
I will count for 1, 2, 3, and then keep smile, guys. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, give smile. Okay, thank you, Pasaria, for that
Thank you.
insightful and so freshly ideas about the war. And maybe we can continue the discussion for the next year. And once again, thank you being part of this conference, and thank you for all participation. And special thank you
Thank you.
for Cyril and the valuable insight. And we hope you have a safe flight, Pak Cyril.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we will move to the second session from Bu Wahidah in a offline session. Okay, before we have not enough time, we will continue for the next session. Please welcoming our second speaker in this session, Bu Wahidah Zein Siregar. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Mbak Anya. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, I would like to thank all the committee for giving me chances to be a speaker in this very important conference, the fourth Sunan Ampel International Conference on Political and Social Science at FISIP, Faculty of Social and Political Science in our campus. And maybe different from the previous speakers from yesterday to just now, what we look at the topic. I would like to raise the importance or the role of women in making peace and security in the world as our theme for the conference. It is about the social, political, and religious dimension of human security. So I try to, because I'm a woman and many participants here are also women, but men also included. So I think about she is always okay, yeah? So we're talking about women in the United Nations peacekeeping missions. So for this presentation, I try to raise two research questions. The first is, what are the reasons for UN Security Council to recruit women in peacekeeping missions? And second, what are the tasks of women peacekeepers in the missions? Do those tasks relate with women traditional roles or not? Yeah. So I begin with making definition, trying to find definition about peacekeeping. And I look at that from mechanic. Peacekeeping is a tool to manage and resolve armed conflict and political violence, and to assist societies in the transition from war to peace. And from United Nations website, we can see that peacekeeping assumed as one of the most effective tools available to the United Nations in the promotion and maintenance of international peace and security. Within the United Nations, it is the Security Council that has the main responsibility to maintain the world peace and security. This body also has the authority to determine whether or not peacekeeping missions or operations will be taken in certain areas around the world. It is the Department of Peace Operation, DPO, that provides political and executive direction to the missions around the world. There are many factors to be considered by the Security Council to take decision whether a peacekeeping mission will be operated. For example, here we can see whether there is a ceasefire in place and the parties have committed, meaning parties that in conflict have committed themselves to a peace process intended to reach a political settlement. Second, whether a clear political goal exists and whether it can be reflected in the mandate. So both or third parties that are in conflict actually agree to make peace together. So the Security Council then decide that the mission will be operated in the area. Third is whether a precise mandate for UN operation can be formulated. And the last one, whether the safety and security of UN personnel can be reasonably ensured, including in particular whether reasonable guarantees can be obtained from the main parties or faction regarding the safety and security of UN personnel. So if they don't have any promise that the personnel came to the area will be safe, so maybe the operation will be suspended or not done. Yeah? And this is the task of the peacekeepers. The peacekeepers actually came from many countries with diverse cultural background and professions. At that time, we can see from the website of UN, actually there are 121 member states that joined the missions. Yeah? So they send the military, the police, civilians to the missions. So the mission, actually, the peacekeepers divided into three components, some of them military, some of them police, and civilians. But the military is still the dominant element because, you know, this is a conflict area, conflict issues. Of course, safety is really important. So in the UN perception, military will be the dominant element. So in the first peacekeeping mission, it's mainly military that come to the area. In the mission, however, both military, police, and civilian are all working together, work for the same aim, that is to maintain the world peace and security. They commit to the protection of the most vulnerable and provide support to countries in transition from conflicts once again to peace. If it is the early development, the task mainly to monitor ceasefire. Now the tasks are more developed into many, for example, protecting civilians, disarming ex-combatants, protecting human rights, promoting the rule of law, supporting free and fair elections, minimizing the risk of landmines, and much more. So you can see all the information I give in this slide in my presentation through UN website. This is history and present. So, as I mentioned previously, that the United Nations Peacekeeping Mission have been starting in May 1948. The first mission was in the Middle East. The role of this mission was to monitor the armistice agreement between Israel and its Arab neighbors. So the mission was named the United Nations Trust Supervision Organization, UNTSO. Present time, there are 11 peacekeeping operations led by BPO. This is the name, like MINURSO in Western Sahara, UDOP in Golan, UNISPA in Abyei, and MOGIV in India and Pakistan, and so forth. In Misya in Sudan. This is the data that I got also from UN website. You know, I try to open all the slide of the UN to look at what actually peacekeeping mission is and how they operate, where they operate, something like that. So as per 31st July 2024, around 2.5 months ago, total number of peacekeepers of the 11 mission right now is 68,574 from 121 countries. So they divide into expert on mission from police units, individual police, staff officer, troops, and civilian personnel. Now I move to women in peacekeeping. This is actually the main idea of my presentation. We already know that the peacekeeping mission firstly conducted was in 1948, but women have joined peacekeeping mission in 1957, meaning after 9 years after the first mission. But they did not progress very well. The number of women involved is not progressed very well in the mission. Until 1989, meaning how many years? 41 years from 1948, there were only 20 women served in the missions. They were all uniformed women, so they are a military or police officer, not civilian. In 1993, women have made up 1% of personnel. So in 1993, 1% of all personnel. So it's very, very small number of women involved in peacekeeping mission around the world. The number of women was hoped to be increased after UN Security Council adopted Resolution 1325 on Women, Peace and Security, WPS, at its 4,213th meeting on 31st October 2000, meaning there will be very soon, inauguration of the UN Security Resolution, 1325 on Women, Peace and Security. But this resolution did not able to increase the number of women significantly. In the year 2009, number of women in peacekeeping mission was still very low, around 8%. So if we look at for general affirmative action, for example, we know the number of critical mass is 30%. For a certain group can make like a bargaining position, but here we can see that in peacekeeping mission, number of women is still very limited until 2009. In order to increase the number of women, BPO then launched a global effort to increase the number. It targeted that in the year 2014, meaning 10 years ago, the number would reach to 20%. However, this target was not achieved yet. So again, it's really hard for women to involve in the mission of peacekeeping mission of the UN. On August 28, 2020, the UN Security Council passed UNSCR 2538 by consensus meaning all the member states agree that this resolution will be launched, will be legalized, tabled by Indonesia. So this is really important, rule of Indonesia in UNSCR 2538. Give applause to Indonesia. And this is the first resolution that particularly concerned with gender and peacekeeping. The resolution requires all member states of the UN to strengthen their collective efforts to promote the full, effective, and meaningful participation of uniformed and civilian women in peacekeeping operations at all levels and in all positions, including in senior leadership positions. So this resolution enables women to enter every department, every level of the peacekeeping mission. In 2020, the number increased into more than 4 times. After this resolution, the number of women increased into more than 4 times in the military contingents, 10 times in formed police units, and 30 times in justice and correction government provided personnel, with the percentage 4.8% for military, 10.9% for police unit, and 34% for civilian, respectively. This resolution encourages new target for participation of women in peacekeeping missions. So DPO make a new target that it is targeted in 2028, 15% of the military contingents and 25% for military observers and staff officers are women. So this is the target for 2028. In formed police unit, the target is 20%. For individual police officer, the target is 30%. This is taken from Jenkins 2020. So total number of women peacekeeper, I also get it from the website of UN Peacekeeping in 2022 was 6,808, divided into 1,043 were civilians and 5,665 were uniformed, meaning military police officer. And as per 31st July 2024, total number of military components was 55,306. But look at that, only 8.6% women. So it's not yet it's possible you think to reach 20% as the target for 2028. So, and total number of police right now was 61,525, but only 6,008 of them were females, meaning 9.8%. Yeah, so it's still a bit far from reaching the target. So could be the 2028 target be achieved? There are factors contribute to answer this question. I couldn't answer exactly, but you can actually predict from the data whether it can be achieved or not, the target in 2028, meaning 4 years ahead, yeah? So this is composition of women military and police from top 5 countries in 2022. From this table, you can see that the top countries are mainly from Africa. Like here, we can see from military side, Ethiopia, Ghana, Rwanda. We have Nepal and Bangladesh from Asia. In police, we have Rwanda, Senegal, Bangladesh, and Nepal also from Egypt. But African women still leading in the number in the peacekeeping mission. They are the peacekeepers. So this is for answering my first research question. Why recruit women? Yeah. UN peacekeeping mentioned 5 reasons. Yeah. First, improves operation and delivery of mandates through broadened skill sets. So it is believed that women have different skills from men. They have maybe the same skills, but they are also have different skills because they are raised differently by the society. 2, helps expand and reach the reach in the community served. So it's also believed that women are more closer to the community. Yeah. If we look at, for example, we see we do gender analysis from MOSA, we can analyze like profile activities. We can know that many women involved in social activities. So it's the same, like looking at this, then UN thinks if there are more women involved in peacekeeping missions, so the community will be served better. 3, provides a greater sense of security in communities. Ya, nggak tahu juga ya. Actually, there are also women very strong leader, ya, very berani, brave, ya. But mainly they are very calm, yeah, like feminine character involved with them. So community feels secure close to women. Of course, our men here also have a very good sense of feminine, and you know they come very serious to look at my presentation. Thank you, Pak Dean. Our Dean is here. Give applause, please. And 4, makes peacekeepers more approachable to women, yeah, and helps create role models for women and girls to follow. So in the community where the mission has taken place, if they see, for example, women wearing uniform as peacekeeper of UN with blue helmet, yeah, and with identity from UN peacekeeping, then the girls and women in the community think that, oh, we as women can be strong like this, be helpful to community and so forth. So this is also the programs, highlight programs that the women peacekeeper do in the missions. This is in 2023. I got also this information all from the website of UN Peacekeeping. So you can see there are many, like 11 missions right now. So MONUSCO, for example, it's able to support sensitization campaigns, yeah? How to make community having more sensitive gender, yeah, gender sensitive attitude to women, yeah? Promoting positive masculinity through a bottom-up approach that relies on community champions and role models. Jadi di konteks ini mungkin dicari model-model men ya yang sangat baik ya kepada women gitu ya and girls di community tersebut untuk membuat rasa sensitif ya, peka ya terhadap empathy terhadap female ya, terhadap women. So in UNISPA, for example, the peacekeeper women strengthen women's leadership and meaningful participation in conflict prevention and resolution processes and mechanisms. As kita tadi udah lihat ya bahwa mission ini tidak hanya di konteks military tapi juga sudah berkembang kepada konteks-konteks komunitas gitu ya. Jadi development of community, so the program is varied ya, sangat bervariasi di mission di masing-masing tempat. So I'm not going to read one by one of this because it's too long. So besides the opportunity that women already got to join the peacekeeping mission, there are also barriers that they face ya. Kenapa sih representasinya masih sangat sedikit? Why the number of women involved participate in the mission is still low ya? I have to drink first. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Terlalu bersemangat kalau cerita women ya kan? So like that. So barriers, it mostly come from gender norms and expectations. So in any society, there are gender norms and expectations. There are social construction, what is good for women and what is good for men, what is not good for women, and conversely, what is not good for men. So this is still embedded in many community in the member states of UN. Yeah, so there will be problem because the women peacekeeper are coming from state members. Yeah, of course, if in the state of the members, these norms are still very high, held by the community or by the society, then it's a bit hard for women to move forward, to leave their country, to join UN peacekeeping mission to other countries like that, far away from home. Yeah. Women are asked to be quiet and calm, for example, so peacekeeping job is not suitable for them. Yeah, you can imagine that tentara, military bring senjata, weapon, in their body, like with helmet, like maybe bomb or something, for security tools. Yeah, so it's not good for women, for example, like that. And women should put their families as their main concern, particularly in childcare. It still happens, even though you are in the military, when you have babies. So it's very difficult for women in military to raise their children if family, husband, community doesn't support them. Yeah, so their career will not be progress very well. Yeah. It is hard for them to join peacekeeping mission, even though they are encouraged for it. Jadi tadi di konteks international, UN from Security Council encourage women to join peacekeeping. Of course, they come from military, police, and civilians, but it is hard for them to just go like that, even though they have the courage to go, yeah, because they need to think first about their families. So this is become the barrier. Norms and biases, yeah, once again, norms and biases that women can do this job, when women just suitable for this kind of works, yeah, so it's still a bias for them. And then sexual exploitation and abuse, it is also afraid that because majority in the field are men, so women is still the minority, like sexual assault, like catcalling, something like that will happen to them in the field, yeah, and abuse. The exclusion of women from certain military function and tasks, ya, jadi tidak semua function military and tasks itu di-given ke women, ya, so, norm and biasnya itu masih ada, ya, bahwa ini women, so they're not suitable being pilot, being competent, something like that, at front line, yeah, something like that. And they, once again, lack of family or community support. Now, this is another question. Do women perform traditional roles in peacekeeping mission Nah, jadi tadi kan mereka ada norms ya, ada bias kira-kira di sana waktu mereka melakukan kegiatan, aktivitas di mission itu, do they from traditional roles or not, or just the same, ya? In the implementation of Women, Peace and Security Agenda, DPO addressed 3 pillars for women in peacekeeping operation. The first is participation, which is to support and facilitate women to participate in all functions and components of peacekeeping operation. This means there are no differentiation based on gender in every role within peacekeeping mission. Jadi boleh aja masuk ke yang mana-mana ya, gitu. Second is prevention, in which DPO, by using gender analysis, finds and overcomes the vulnerability, the risk, and the danger which can impact to women when in mission. Jadi, walaupun diberi, tapi ada juga prevention. Kalau dianggap itu a bit danger to women peacekeeper, then they're not allowed to do that. Yeah. I think it's also for men, yeah, not just for women. It's depend on the situation in the field, yeah. The last is protection, which is an effort from DPO to protect the right of women and girls, including reporting and prosecuting of sexual and gender-based violence. Jadi ini juga menyangkut pada proteksi ya, apakah bisa perempuan diberikan hak untuk melakukan pekerjaan-pekerjaan tertentu atau tidak gitu ya. Sekali lagi tergantung pada ada prevention, ada protection, but they are encouraged to participate in all activities ya of peacekeeping mission or operations. These 3 principles, however, assume can result in different meaning in practice. Yeah, Jennings 2011 argued, feminine characters always linked to women, creating some negative stereotyping on women capability. Jadi karena tadi kita dianggap feminin ya, misalnya kita jago taktik gitu ya, tapi nggak dikasih gitu, karena pikiran oh ini nggak bagus gitu ya. Jadi walaupun tadi ada bagusnya, tapi juga mengandung ada side yang kurang bagus gitu ya. Nah, kan nggak semuanya bahasa Inggris nggak apa-apa ya. It's okay, okay. And there is skepticism about female ability to perform difficult or dangerous tasks. Tadi I already mentioned many times ya. Skepticism ya, couldn't believe that women can do this ya. The stereotyping of women as a weak individual also prevent women development in early phase of UN peace operation or in any mission which is seen as high risk in violence conflict. Jadi kalau situasinya itu sangat berat ya di lapangan, ya katakanlah seperti sekarang UNTSO operate in Israel, in Palestine for example, and in Israel ya, around that area. It's very dangerous. Maybe it's hard for women to be involved in mission, something like that. Yeah. As a result, women cannot show their full potentials. Nah ini, jadi for women itu assumption-nya yang pertama muncul, belum ditanyakan kepada orangnya itu. That's, are you able to do this? Do you have the capacity to do this? It's not your assumption that oh, women, yeah, you are women military, so you cannot do this job. Maybe they can perform better than men. Military, we don't know. So give them a chance to explore their capability for the tactic. Maybe they're good, we don't know, yeah. But when you prevent at the start, so they cannot do anything like that to further show their capacity, their potential that they have. Almost end of my presentation. This is for further research that maybe you're interested in looking at. So I just looking at general description of what actually happened in peacekeeping right now for women, how their participation, how do they task, what the reason for them to be recruited to be peacekeeper for UN peacekeeping mission. Yeah. So you can write, for example, how is the interaction between women and men in peacekeeping mission. But for this, I think you need to conduct a field research, doing interview with those who already being experienced being a peacekeeper. Yeah, so it is very good question whether men and women in peacekeeping mission can interact good or something else happen. You can ask that question. Yeah. They treated as equal working partner or not? Do they experience sexual assault in the field? Yeah, this is a very important area to be known, yeah, to be researched. Second, it needs to be understood how is the capacity of women peacekeeper in doing gender analysis. So, as I mentioned before, that the peacekeeping mission is not only talk about military aspect, but also about community development and also about election, how to deal new government after conflict and etc. They need to provide with analysis, gender analysis. Like even though you are a military background, you coming from police, you need to have training, yeah, to know how you do analysis in the field. So they can address much more programs for community in the area of the mission. Do they get enough training or not, yeah, on that issue? And last one, you can also look at, for example, how is the performance of uniform women peacekeepers in terms of their outfit. Can they work freely with the local women? Tadi kan mereka mau jadi role model ya. Kira-kira dengan berpakaian militer datang ke komunitas gitu, komunitasnya rasa takut atau enggak kepada para perempuan di peacekeeping ini tadi ya. So do they uniform ya? I don't know. I myself find like when we are in the road, we find like poluan, yeah, it is scary, yeah, for me, yeah. In the military, so it's not easy for me to like talking, yeah, to them directly. So I feel, oh, military, oh, police like that, yeah. So I don't know whether in the field of the mission, like in Sudan, for example, yeah, that you wear uniform and then you can contact freely with the civilian in the area or something like that. Does uniform make them different person or not? Yeah, this is also important area. Thank you very much. That's all my presentation. I give it back to Anya.
Okay. It's such a great presentation, Wahidah, and it's a new perspective on peacekeeping area. We can learn that the involvement of women in peacekeeping is so important, and we should know women has a different skill that can use in the conflict area or after conflict area. Okay, now let's move to the question and answer session. Like before, I will give you a chance to ask directly about your question. For the offline participants, I will give you the microphone. Wow, it's a main question, I think. And for the Zoom or online participation, you can use the raise hand feature to ask the question. Okay, now we start from the offline participation. Who will be the first? Okay. Maybe the black, yeah, the black one, the black hijab one. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So let me introduce myself first. I'm a Fadila from the sociology student. Dear Mrs. Wahidah, I think it's such a nice presentation. Thank you so much. And I want to, so talking about peacekeeping missions, I want to ask about how to be an empowered woman and to be a peacekeeper, especially in the case of genocide against Palestinians that is happening today. Because as we know that Israel is still bombarding innocent Palestinians. I mean, what kind of specific roles can we do as a woman now? Thank you so much. That's all my questions. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you for the next question. I think maybe the MC.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you, Ms. Wahidah, for a very clear explanation, but there are some questions for me. So what are the long-term impacts of the women's participations in peacekeeping missions? And also, How can we measure the effectiveness of this effort in promoting peace, security, and human rights? I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, and next, the big one, please come to in front of.
My name is Cyril. I am a higher student. I was asked about in sending the female troops to participate in the UN peacemaking mission. What the criteria must be equipped or must be owned so that they can be selected to represent the country as a female troop for the UN peacekeeping mission. And out of context of the role of a woman in UN peacekeeping, actually. Is there any mission failure? Is there any UN peacemaking mission that failure, and what specific factors that cause failure? Thank you.
Okay, it's a great question. You want to be a representative, I think. Okay, and then the gray one. Okay, please come here. Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the great or valuable insights shared in your presentation, Ms. Wahidah. I'm highly interested in this type of topic, so that's why I would like to raise my two questions. So first is why must African countries still be the leader of the peacekeepers' roles? And the second one is, it seems to me there's a double-edged sword between first. Women is still linked to the special or like personality traits that is feminine energy or maybe like vulnerability or even someone that is need to be protected instead of giving a protection. But on the other side, it's scientifically proven that women or gender specific behavior has put women into the nurturing or community oriented roles. So my question is, apart from the UN resolution on women, peace and security, does society norms or society perception or gender norms has contributed to the participation of women in peacekeeping? Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, I think the last one, the black one, you can come here.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, thank you for this opportunity, Miss. I'm Priskarani Salsabila. I'm a political sciences student. So Mrs. Wahidah said that woman has a special skills that men doesn't have. So it proves that we are women have an ability to. So my question is, what do you think about the role? I mean, the participating of Muslim women in global politics, especially the role of women in the United Nations for the world security and peace. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. It's such a great question all, and we accept a lot of question, I think, and your presentation is so interesting, Bu Wahidah. So there are a lot of questions here. Okay, please answer it one by one, Bu Wahidah.
Okay, thank you very much, for all participation and all questions. I'm not sure that I can answer clearly all the questions or not, but I try to do it, I just try to show you the web, from UN Peacekeeping, so we can see we can get the insight, actually that who are the women peacekeeper, like women in peacekeeping mission. Can you open the web? But before that, I'll try to answer while they're trying to open the web. Like, as I mentioned before, the criteria for UN in doing a mission, in making operation in certain area is the danger part of it. It is one also consideration. If it is no agreement between parties in conflict to have ceasefire, to have settlement, that they both parties or maybe three parties that have conflict in certain area want to make peace in the area, so the UN will not send troops or the peacekeeper to the area. So they will not doing missions. You see what I mean? So if it is very dangerous, then maybe if they already come to have the operation or mission, but then in the middle of it, dangers coming, so it will stop. Operation can be stopped. It is DPO, like Department of Peace Operation, who have the ability, the authority to determine whether the mission will be stopped, the mission will be suspended, the mission will be continued like that. As I mentioned in my previous slide, in the first or second slide of my presentation. So this is very important. If it is very dangerous, so what should we send the troops? So it's danger for the troops. And there data, so there are many yang meninggal juga maksudnya peacekeepers yang dying That's can you look at down like women peacekeeping, with women in peacekeeping, women in peacekeeping. Look at that. Some of them wear hijabs too, to answer the question from the yang terima tadi bagaimana peran Muslim ada yang menggunakan hijab juga gitu jadi sangat-sangat broad variety cultures jadi peacekeepers ini they come from various cultures and background 121 countries member state that send the military, the police or civilians to go to mission like that. Nggak ada yang peacekeeping-nya.
Ini ada yang women in peacekeeping.
Iya, coba itu buka.
The first one.
Oh, the first one.
The first one that show the hijab, like
Yeah.
I said. Yeah.
So the in the military, like from Indonesia, for example, if they wear hijab, they still wear hijab into Indonesia, like that. So this is the community, a lot of things that you can look at. So you need to open all the website one by one, look at and then get the data, and then you combine the data to give a nice paper, It's like that. Okay. Thank you very much. And what will be a long impact? Sebenarnya tadi kan udah ada 71 misi Dari mulai tahun 1948 sampai sekarang ada 71 misi. Sekarang ada 11 misi. Berarti kan udah 60 yang selesai. Jadi kalau it depends on the situation in the area of conflict, whether the troops or the mission will be long lasting in that area or not, Like UNTSO, berarti dari tahun 48 yang pertama sekali kan UNTSO. Sampai sekarang pun ada UNTSO juga, Tadi ini yang women in peacekeeping Di slide saya tadi UNTSO itu masih sampai sekarang. Bisa jadi dia udah ada di postpone saya tidak tahu, harus lihat semuanya history of masing-masing mission. Jadi if you open the web of UN peacekeeping, so you can look at every mission, the history in every mission. 71 mission. If you want to conduct research on mission in South Sudan, for example, you click on South Sudan mission like that. So it will be data also provided to you. So it depends on the situation. Like UNTSO in 1948, they went to the peacekeeping mission, but then maybe they postponed when the situation going well. But then if, for example, this situation worse again, and the peacekeeping mission will come again to the area, yeah, to the country in conflict, yeah. It depends once again on mission, whether many parties that involved in the conflict want to have peace or not, whether they have agreement to have peace or not, whether they want to have ceasefire or not. If they don't ceasefire, then of course nobody can go there. It's really dangerous. Ya, banyak yang meninggal juga ya para troops ini ya. So this is very interesting to look at. And the data is really rich from the web that you can look at. And then criteria ya. Nanti dibuka aja Mbak, Bu Wahidah nggak hafal semua kriterianya karena Bu Wahidah kan bukan DPO nih kan, bukan Department of Peace Operation, jadi nggak ingat lah ya. Maksudnya you open the web and you can see what will be the requirement. Of course ya, if you are like military, if you civilian, maybe criterianya you are from INGO, that you operate internationally, and you have a good health, and you have good English, or maybe you have expertise in culture, where the mission will be taking place, like that. So this is general requirement that I can see to you. And then whether, once again, the country in conflict is having good relation with the member state that want to send their troop to the area, something like that. So there are many criteria for you. But for women, it's also the same, ya. Di Indonesia kan namanya pasukan Garuda, Mbak, mission itu, ya. Jadi misi itu masuk misi pasukan Garuda. Dulu tuh semuanya laki-laki, sekarang boleh perempuan. Yang digalakkan akhir-akhir ini adalah pihak kepolisian, ya. Jadi perempuan Indonesia yang dari Polwan itu boleh aja untuk daftar, gitu ya. Sepanjang mereka they can fulfill the requirements for being peacekeeper tadi itu, ya. If they don't fulfill the criteria, then they cannot pass, ya. I think English is very important. Second language, second international language is very important for all the members, ya. Peacekeepers, ya. And then two H, ya, double H, ya. Tadi ya, feminine character actually need protection. But in other side, semuanya justru bisa memberi perlindungan. Memang di dunia ini selalu ada begitu, Mbak. Ya maksudnya contradictory position. Kan nggak hanya pada women, tapi juga pada men, ya. Siapa sih yang paling memproteksi anaknya? Ya ibu, kan. If you like see chickens, ya, they have chick, ya, and the mother with the small chicks, ya, and then you try to kill the chicks, and then be careful. The mother will attack you soon, like that, ya. Because mother will protect the children. Kan seperti itu. It's nature. It's patriotic, ya. Because you've been in the womb for 9 months, like that, ya. So this is the nurture part of women, and then it's nature but also nurture, gitu ya. But for making world peace and security, because we live in the world, in the same world, like siapa sih yang bisa hidup di Mars kan belum ada, ya. So everybody of us living in the same world. So we need to create peace and security in this world. And men and women are living in the same world too. So men and women need to cooperate together to make peace and security in the world. So if you try to ignore one side, so you just look at seriously on one side, meaning ya ini jadi separuh dunia lah ya kan. Kalau laki-laki aja jadi separuh dunia gitu. Memang ada dangernya, but the military already being trained, ya. They are training women, ya. Mereka itu trup yang sudah di-training secara militer, sama trainingnya dengan laki-laki kan, pegang tembak. Kan sama toh yang dikopangnya tembaknya ya itu sama juga kan, ya. But the problemnya itu adalah norms tadi itu, ya. Social norms, ya. Expectation of society. Jadi nggak bisa. Yeah, surrounding us, there are stronger women than men. there are stronger men than women, but if you just make generalization that women are not able to do this, yeah, because they are nurtured, yeah, they are naturally giving birth or something like, giving birth, it's really, really tough job. It's really, really hard. You can get killed while you giving birth, yeah. Itu sangat-sangat keras. Berarti apa? Physically, women are really good, yeah. So if you give chances for them, so they can active, they can participate to make peace in this world. Why not? Come on, yeah. Something like that. So you need to open your mind. Bukan berarti kita mau menjajah lelaki, bukan kan ya? Kita want to cooperate, we work together because we live together in this world. So let me do my part, you do your part, we can cooperate each other. Perempuan adalah sahabat dekat laki-laki, kan seperti itu ya, bukan musuhnya. Ya, jadi harus sama gitu ya. Nah tadi kenapa Afrika women ya? Why African women yang masih dominan ya di konteks peacekeeper ini? Karena mungkin ya, I guess, this is my guessing, because many from the 11 mission itu in Africa, ya. Jadi locationnya mission itu ada di Afrika. Tentu mendatangkan African women itu lebih mudah dari mendatangkan women from all over the world, ya. Tadi member state countries dari UN itu mungkin regarding the expense, ya, regarding availability for family carer when they have small children, and usually the mission is 1 year. So from Indonesia, if you want to go to be peacekeepers like that, it's 1 year mission. So you live 1 year, your children. So it's not easy job. Yeah, it's not easy task to do. Even though like you are encouraged to go, but then your situation, unless yeah, the husband said, "Come on, babe, go there. We can do this. I can taking care of our children. Don't worry. We be fine." If you get that support from the husband, then okay. So if you're still single, your father said to you, "Come on, girl, you can go. Make peace to the world. You are very beautiful girl." Like that, then you can go too. Otherwise, oh, you cannot go. You are very weak. Danger there. So like, you cannot go too. It depends on the society. It depends on your family, your community, like that. It's still very hard. Tinggallah Ibu Retno Marsudi. Bisa jadi di Security Council. Bisa mengeluarkan seperti itu resolutionnya untuk gender and security. Kan luar biasa. Pidato Ibu Marsudi, Retno Marsudi, like she gives speech in front of many leaders of the world without any gibbering, ya kan? Gak ada menggetar, bersuara. It's like that. We can do that too to make peace and security to this world. Ya. Lain-lainnya kayaknya udah semua ya, banyak banget saya ngomongnya ya. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think this time for us, yeah. Thank you. I give back to you, Anya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wahidah, for the answer. I think I have an information. If you are interested in women peacekeepers, you can start from non-violent peacekeepers. NVP is one of NGO in international that can go to the conflict area, and we are civilians can try to be one part of them. Okay. I think it's enough for this discussion, and now we move to the certificate handover to celebrate the interesting presentation from Wahidah.
Wait. Share aja.
Okay, this is Wahidah. Thank you for the presentation.
Take a picture. Yeah.
Okay, we should take a picture for this session. Please, all of the online participants, open the videos, open the photos in the session, and we will take the picture. Okay, I will give instruction. Okay, 1, 2, 3, kids smile. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we are at the end of our session. I hope we have such a good experience and new ideas for political and social and religion dimension for human security discussion. And I will hand back to the MC for the next event. Thank you guys and have a nice day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a lively applause for our speaker, moderator, and all of us. To all participants, we would like to inform you that you can fill out the attendance form for today's attendance. You can receive the certificate after closing ceremony sessions. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and all participants. To close this event, let us sing the song Bagimu Negeri together. The audience is requested to stand up and put their right hand on the left shoulder. Presents and apologize if there are any shortcomings in the implementations of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure for us, Nadia Devina,
And for me, Muhammad Aditya, to be your master of ceremony for these past 2 days. Dear Excellencies, distinguished guests, and all participants, see you at the next year of SAICoPSS 2025. Akhirul kalam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
you.